Hi, guys. We are back with Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is the finale episode. We are going to spoil absolutely everything from this whole series. So if you just happened upon this, you've been warned. No holds barred, I swear. Like, we are going to go straight to the twists at the end of this book. The twists. You're going to know everything. In five, four, three, two, one. All right. I can't be held accountable anymore. I need to dive right in to some of these twists at the end of this book because honestly, and I will say this, I thought that some of the twists were pretty cool. I think that the first one that comes up is Callum's twist, which I thought was neat. Because I know I personally kept going back and forth on, is Callum a good guy? Is Callum a bad guy? And really, up until we got the twist of Callum's like true motivations, I genuinely thought he was working for the resistance. And then all of a sudden, when he just is like, nope, psych, like, Brooke, you remember that thing that you thought like way back in Powerless and that I fed the resistance into the wood chipper? That's what he did. But like, I really had come around on him being a good guy. Like, where are you guys at with Callum? Like, did you see that one coming? Were you sure he was evil the whole time?
Um, I
I
don't even
abstain.
know where to start. I feel like it just felt like his motivations and the king's motivations were too similar for me. They were both just
Mm.
like, I hate ordinaries. Ordinaries killed the love of my life. I hate you, Peyton. Like, I just wish there was a little bit of differentiation in their characterizations and motivations for hating an entire group of people.
They were very much like the same person almost.
Hmm.
Even in that they both hated ordinaries for like the same reason because they were both in love with the same woman, which
Yeah.
like I have no idea how the king never realized that. Like, I guess it says something about how full of himself he must have been to never have it had even crossed his mind that his wife might have had an affair. um but yeah, I mean, I thought like Callum's evil villain reveal was interesting, and I thought that was like a cool twist that I personally didn't see coming, and like looking back on it, it did make sense. So I thought it was cool how we learned that the king and Callum had like orchestrated this whole, let's like let the resistance grow and you be part of it so that then we can just like get all the ordinaries out in the open and just kill them all at once, because it finally like kind of made the dumb resistance plan make sense. The like, let's all just like go into the bowl and tell them we're here and like show them our list of requirements in order to not kill the princes, I guess. So I at least like I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, which I feel like we knew like, I think we brought it up when it happened, being like, "This is a dumb plan." Feels like Callum is leading them into this. So, like, and then there was, like, a bunch like, we backtracked when it seemed like Hayden just trusted him for no reason.
We we
I
questioned
just
him a lot, I feel like.
yeah.
And we were totally sus, like, by the end of Powerless and then into Reckless. Like, what is this guy doing here? I just think that, like, the twist was kind of cool, yes, but I just don't think it was strong enough, like, leading up to it.
Did we get the reason that Callum wanted Kit to marry Peyton?
I think it was like a continuation of the plan of
Drawing
like
ordinaries out?
bring out the ordinaries, because I think the where the waters got a little muddy for me was like where the king's plans ended and Callum's plans began, and then where Callum's plans ended and Kit's plans began.
Yeah.
And so it was a little confusing to me, like what was Callum's plan, what was Kit's plan. And I think that the marrying Hayden for Callum might have been the bringing more ordinaries out into the open. And then obviously Kit's plan was somehow to bring the ordinaries out to make them into elites so that he could rule the world and be the greatest ruler ever to be born. The thing about Callum that bothered me, and I want to get you guys' opinion on this, because
Only
I
one
think
thing?
that the biggest thing that bothered me about Callum was the twist at the end that I thought could have been the framework could have been laid a little better where this twist would have been dropped and I would have been like, "Oh my god, how cool." But throughout this whole series, every time Callum was brought up, we would be like, "Wait, Peyton just like said Callum and Kai doesn't know his name, but also like the minute Kai gets back to the castle, he has no question about like Callum being Kit's advisor, and Kit mentions Callum's been my dad's advisor for forever. And we find out at the end that Callum theoretically has been like manipulating people's minds, and also that the king kept all of his fatals a secret, which I didn't think was really stated up until the end, that the king like kept his fatals a secret. So it was cool in that I liked that everybody had sort of like had like misremembered memories of Callum, or like didn't know about Callum, so he had like either flown under the radar or had controlled people's brains to get to this point that he's at. But for me, I didn't understand that it was supposed to be a cool plot twist, and it more just felt like nobody's like idea of Callum was matching up.
That was the most underwhelming of the plot twists,
Yeah.
where they were like, "Surprise! Callum is the king's mind reader," like, as if it was supposed to be a big shock when, like, I think generally we had figured it out, and the way they were hiding it was more confusing than the fact that it was the fact.
Yeah. When Peyton like realized it, I was like, I'm confused. Because like in other books, you know when you know something that like one of the main characters doesn't, you're like, come on, figure it out, figure it out. And when Peyton was like, go, he was the mind reader the whole time. I was like, yeah, you've spent a whole book with him hugging you and giving Kit advice. And when she was like confused about Callum having like had the rose garden for a decade, I was like, when she's like, wait, how'd you grow those roses in like a few months? I was like, oh, what?
Literally, that entire thing, like, the fact that she used the rose garden to be like, "Oh my g," like, that's how she connected, I was like,
Yeah, I think for me, there just needed to be like at least one time where Peyton was like, "Oh, Kit, like that's so trusting of you to like take the words of Callum, who you've only known for 2 months, and for Kit to like obfuscate and make it clear that something was being hidden from Peyton, so we would know that she didn't know." But I just assumed she knew the whole time.
it
Do you
was
think been a lot of like her introspective that's not like her feelings or surface level? Like introspect inter perspective in terms of like the plot and things that are going around.
Yeah, it definitely was. Do we talk about Kit right now, or do we leave him for the end? Do we have like other things that we can discuss before Kit, or do we just like get it out of the way?
one more Callum thing. They also,
Please.
like, because one of our theories was like, "Oh, maybe there's, like, a secret controller somewhere that's controlling Kit." And I don't think we ever were like, "Oh, Callum is the controller." So that was kind of a twist. But then, like, my first thought was, how would Kai not have known he was a duel? And when they were like, "Oh, he's definitely a controller." And then someone asks Kai, like, "How did you not know?" And Kai was like, "I didn't sense it." And like, so it just seemed super unclear to me at the end if he was a controller or not. Like, I feel like I'm still leaning towards no, but I'm uncertain.
The problem for me was that that felt like a cool twist when it happened, which was like, oh my goodness, like we never thought, like in all the times that we were like, where's the
Yeah,
controller? We never thought, like, is Callum both the mind reader and the control? Like we kept saying,
yeah.
does he, like, can he do mind control and is that part of the mind reader? But we were like, oh my goodness, like, the fact that he was both people was kind of cool. But then Peyton has this moment where she's like, but wait, was he? And I'm like, that should be really easy to find out because, like, Kit's the king now. So is there another controller who's like the controller of the castle or not, and it was just never answered. So to me, it was almost like we had this cool twist, but then we kind of like fainted like there might be another cool twist. Like I started wondering, like, is Mira, like, is Callum's daughter the controller? Like, has she been in the background, like mind controlling? Just
What
nothing.
was the point of her? She didn't do anything all series except glare at Peyton that one time. And then
As
the other thing with Callum, sorry to keep bringing up Callum things. It felt like a lot of the reveals were about him. So you find out he's Peyton's dad, then they start fighting. Then Peyton knocks him unconscious with her cool psychic abilities, even though he can literally read her mind, which honestly felt more unbelievable to me than when she fought the king. Like, I know we had conversations about him being a brawny and like, how did she defeat him? He was a mind reader and she outthought him.
yeah, and he couldn't like duck when she was gonna throw her punches. Yeah.
Um, so he's passed out and she's like, oh my God, so hard to like make him pass out. Instead of killing him herself, she goes to Kit, who notably does not trust her. Tells him the entire story. He immediately trusts her and then just murders Callum when she wouldn't murder Callum.
I will say for that, that makes sense to me because Peyton, like, five times too many for my liking, was like, oh no, my soul. Like, I can't kill more people. And I was like, girlfriend, this is just the lot you've been given in life. Like, you're gonna have to keep killing people that are, like, trying to kill you and your loved ones. So it makes sense to me that she didn't kill him. And then I liked that Kit immediately killed him, seemingly for almost no reason, because there's no way that he trusted Peyton. Like my immediate first thought was like, wow, you guys have come a really long way in your friendship. Like that you trusted her immediately. And then I immediately switched that and was like, okay, so you just killed Callum to hide your own, like, your part in whatever is going on. I still didn't really call what his part was at all, but like I thought that was the reason for that, was sort of showing us that like Kit was covering something up.
But was he? I can't even remember. I read it a week ago.
My guess is that if he hadn't killed Callum, that Callum probably would have like leaked his plan. And then probably like leaked more of why Peyton was marrying Kit.
But we didn't get any of that. And I just feel like if you're gonna have like all these cool twists at the end, it would have been nice having more justification for him just being like, okay, murder. When it's not
Yeah,
like Kit has murdered that many people either. And like given he is kind of losing his sanity at this point in the book, but even still.
yeah, for sure. I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but as Jamie just continues to sip her wine, when we ask questions and she doesn't have a good answer. This is a book court first. We've never had adult beverages during a taping before, and we told you in the last one we would probably need them, and we decided that we did. So if you haven't poured yourself a beverage and you're not like currently driving to work and listening to us, please feel free, because I think it might make this more interesting. Uh, Maybe not interesting, but easier to get through. Because oh my goodness, the stuff that happened at the end of this book, absolutely wild. Um, I don't can we jump right into Kit? Should we just immediately
I
go
think
for it
now
since
it's
we
Kit
didn't talk about
time.
Day.
it?
Let's do it.
I think we got to do it. Okay. Once again, I kind of like, I thought in a microcosm that the whole plague thing was a cool twist. Not for a single second did I think they're going to bring back the plague. Like, it wasn't even on my radar that, like, this plague, which is a central part of this plot, could potentially come back again. I just, not in my wildest dreams, even when we had that moment where it was like, oh, Peyton's dad's journals, like what could possibly have been in it about this other thing that the king knew? I didn't even really have a guess, but any of my top five guesses would not have been, we're going to remanufacture the plague that we manufactured to begin with. and then tried to give it to everyone. So I'm going to stop there because I think the plague part of Kit's plan was cool. The execution of the plague part, I've got some notes on. No notes on plague part though. Like, how did you guys feel about learning the about the original plague and like it being brought back?
I thought it was a really interesting twist that it had been a man-made plague. I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, what a." I think the problem with this end section is all of the twists were put into a 100-page twist section. Like, if they had been, like, rolled out slowly, like we had found out about Callum earlier in the book, and then this is the big twist at the end of the book, there were just too many twists in this section.
Mhm.
And, like, they were good twists, but it's hard going 20 pages, new twist, 20 pages, new twist. And, like, this one, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I felt like there wasn't really anything that alluded to the fact it had been a man-made plague, which would have been good to know in advance of then finding out Kit's trying to, like, give it to other kingdoms. Because like, if we had known previously it was a man-made plague, say, earlier in the book, and then, like, had found out Kit was sick, then, like, there's more to, like, "Oh, what if he's trying to remanufacture the plague?"
Yeah. And I just didn't feel like there were a lot of hints or any hints at all really throughout the book that like the plague could have been man-made. Like I think if maybe in book 1 it had been like there's a rumor or so weird that the plague only hit here and never like spread must have been because of the desert or just like little notes like that about like just casting some sort of suspicion on the plague. I feel like we might have been thinking more about it. How much of Kit's like plague craziness do we think is due to, or I guess like is causing his wanting to rule the world? Because that was the part that I felt like was really out of left field for me. And granted, he is going crazy. Like he is actively losing his mind. But for us to go from book 1 Kit, which was like the sweetest boy that was supposed to be like this huge change, like he's going to be a good king, to JK, I want to get everyone sick, let thousands and thousands of people die just so I can somehow come in and conquer them, just seemed like a really big swing.
It also didn't make sense, like, logistically, like, "Oh, our population is waning. I wanna make the other populations more powerful and then conquer them."
Yeah.
Well, he was also trying to like make himself powerful too.
Yeah. And I think that's like I don't think that was said explicitly. Like, was it that his original plan was let's remake the plague so that we can regain the plague powers? Because that was sort of part of the twist that I thought was cool, was noticing that like the healers weren't able to save people and like that people's powers were diminishing. So was it just that Kit was trying to like rejuice everybody and like get the powers like back up or even better, and then in his like plague crazed mind he decided world domination was the answer?
Like, I think when he took the plague, it was also part of, like, "I'm gonna manifest destiny everywhere."
I thought like the king's death definitely had like a big impact on him. Definitely like to his mental state too. I don't
Mhm.
know when he started dosing himself, but maybe like that and coupled with like the trauma of losing his father and never feeling good enough for him and trying to step into his role, his father's role. And maybe that's I think you're right. Like it wasn't explained well
Mhm.
other than his letters.
Oh my god, the letters, don't get me started on the letters. I have so
Are
many thoughts on the letters.
I'm gonna
Go off.
defend the letters because I thought the
No.
letters were really cool. Like I just in the writing, like I thought that it was a neat way to show his absolute like just devolving into like total madness. I thought that was cool.
Agree. I wish there had been more other than the letters, like relying completely on the letters for the development. Because I think it was really unclear as the reader what of his development was grief and what was
Mhm.
plague. And it wasn't super clear at any point until the letters.
Yeah.
And so to me, the letters just felt like an easy way of explaining around a lot of the questions we had had throughout reading books 2 and 3.
Mhm. I liked that like stuff was scratched out and like it felt like a really visceral like cool thing for me at least. And I was like, never once did I think that Kit was like just locked in his study, like creating this like crazed manifesto. That just never occurred to me. And like we're constantly seeing his like ink stained fingers, and I'm thinking like boy just needs a hobby. But no, he's over there like writing his crazy thoughts down, which I yeah, that came as a surprise to me.
Be more like poetry. Didn't really
Yeah.
read like
No, that's the other brother. That's not really a brother.
It's not really
Um, I do think his like trying to be more powerful himself characterization made a lot of sense because I feel like from the very first book, it shows how like self-conscious he is about like the fact Kai always beats him and that he's not the best at anything.
and he was jealous of Kai too. Like he
Yeah,
had
and
a
like the
different
jealousy of
viewpoint.
Kai. Yeah.
and like thinking that he could possibly be a bastard, like that hadn't really occurred to me when we're getting the
Mhm.
king's like backstory throughout this book, was that there was a possibility of Kit also questioning if the king was his dad or if he was also Callum's son. So that was interesting that he was dealing with
So
that.
did Kit know that Peyton was his sister beforehand?
Yes. Yeah, so he says that like Callum told that, not I don't think that Callum told him, but that he got the jewelry box and had like put two and two together with the handwriting and everything. And so he knew about Peyton being his sister, but then he also questioned if Callum was his dad. And then potentially he was a bastard, and then that would take the throne away from him, and that Kai would get it, or that Peyton would get it. And I will
He
say,
never knew that Kai wasn't his brother, like blood brother.
I don't think he knew until Kai tells him, when Kai figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kit had a lot to deal with, and I will say that at the end, like I felt really bad for him, and I was not a huge fan of his ending in this book. And I think that we can't possibly ignore the fact that it was just revealed that there's going to be a novella that's coming out in in a few months. Um that we have to assume is about Kit. In
Hmm.
his post-mortal life, but I don't know, it kind of made sense to me that he didn't dodge when Kai stabbed him, but then just him dying to me was like, really? Although on the other hand, like that scene was, I thought was like really well done on Kai's part. Like the grief like from Kai in losing his brother, like I felt was entirely believable, and like I was
Oh
very
yeah.
sad for him.
Hmm.
Do you guys feel bad for Kit? Were you glad that he died?
Honestly, I didn't care about him by the end. I
I
was
do
sad
feel
for
bad for
Kai,
him. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I thought it was cute his, like I just wanted to be known that I opened the epilogue, like, last episode, I opened it in front of you guys, and we had just talked about how the epilogue was gonna be, like, him going off in like, his soul leaving his body into a ball of light, and the first 3 sentences are like, "As my soul leaves my body and I turn into a ball of light."
Yes, I did cut that from the previous episode, but we did because we're on Fable, we sort of can see what the chapters are called in this. So we all sort of saw that the epilogue was Kit's POV, And I did make the joke that I thought it would be similar to Adina in that it would be like my soul left my body. And the minute that it started, well, honestly, like the minute that he died pre-epilogue, I was like, oh no.
Please tell me you read the first 3 sentences of the epilogue and remembered my reaction.
I did. I did. And honestly, like the epilogue was somehow even wilder than I thought it would be. Like I thought it would be like a really nice, just touching moment like Adina's. Like I felt like Adina's moment as her soul was leaving her body. Like it was like a little like slightly unbelievable that we were getting her POV as like a newly dead spirit. But this was like a different I was reading it and almost not understanding what was happening. And I think that it's the lead up to the novella. So we're going to understand that Kit is now going to be on this like post life journey of some kind, but it was like very like postmodern. I don't know. I felt like I was reading Waiting for Godot a little bit.
I do not like Waiting for Godot. My hot take is I read Waiting for Godot in high school, had a bad time.
I don't think I
Yeah.
read that one.
As an English and theater double major, Waiting for Godot is a necessary evil. But I just it's like those like works of art where people are like, ah yes, when they talked about the blue curtains, it meant that her mother hated her and she had to deal with like the PTSD of her never living up to like when you're trying to make something out of nothing. It's like sometimes the
Mhm.
curtains are just blue. Like they don't have to talk about her sadness or whatever. Like I felt
Yeah.
like this got very literary for me. Like the epilogue, I was like, are these stars that he's talking to Adina and
They
Mac?
definitely were.
Yeah. I don't know. Like
It's
did
also
either of you like
hard.
really like it? Did you really like the epilogue?
No.
I did not like the epilogue
Yeah.
actually. It was
Oh,
heading
wait.
towards like an afterlife setting, and I just like I wasn't here for it. I'm sorry, and I do feel bad
Yeah.
for Kit, but it's just like I did not. Elena, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, I feel like that was too decisive and that we all said no immediately. So I would just like to say, I personally loved the epilogue. I thought it was nice seeing Adina again. Nice seeing that Adina and Mac were together as their cute little stars. And it totally makes sense that they're going to be friends with Kit when Kit tried to kill her best friend multiple times over the course of this book. Um,
Not even like to say that we find out that Kit is the one that paid Mac like to basically allow himself to be killed. Like and I mean Kit was hoping that Mac would win, right? But like the fact that Kit is directly at fault for Mac being dead.
the way Kit
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, I was kind of hoping you died on any of these missions.
Yes, yeah. That and I think we need to go back and talk about that because I was absolutely totally caught off guard by Kit's abject hatred of Peyton. I I think that the book does a good job of showing us how he's very conflicted. And I kept saying mind control when he would be like super happy looking at Kai one minute and then just like absolutely off his rocker at Peyton. But like it made sense when it comes to the end and he's just like, I
Hmm.
absolutely hated you. Like you killed my mom, you were everything that I hated, you killed my dad, you betrayed me. Like I actually liked how he somehow just could not get over her betrayal. Did I think it was basically like him being like an 11-year-old child and not being able to work through his emotions? Yes, but it made sense to me a little bit. Elena,
Like,
I
what's up?
have such a problem with everyone hating Peyton because she killed her mom. Like, I think the cap on people that hate Peyton because she killed her mom should be one, two at a max. The fact that it's three is crazy.
It's I mean, like we could talk about how problematic that view is for like a 2025 audience and like I hope absolutely no one in this world thinks that like if a baby is born and like god forbid like the mother doesn't survive that it was the baby's fault at all. Like that's just a tragedy.
In
Um,
a way, it makes sense though for his character, Kit's character, because
yeah,
like she betrayed him, and that's kind of like the nail on the coffin, right? Like, and
yeah,
then her killing his dad. To
yep,
me, it makes sense, and I just feel bad that Peyton felt bad about his feelings towards her, that
yeah,
she kind of made him that way.
I did like that he hates Peyton because he feels like Peyton's taking Kai away from him, and I wish that had
mhm,
been more apparent throughout the rest of the book for because I feel like it was unclear at a lot of points if he hated her, like why he hated her relationship with Kai so much, if it was because he was into her. So I just wish there had been like one conversation with Kai where he was like, I feel like you don't put me first anymore, which like kind of happens, but like in a super unclear way, at least for me.
yeah. I felt like there were only almost like too many reasons that Kit hated Peyton. Like none of which were Peyton's fault, really. Like other than her betraying him and like taking the key and all that, which
Yeah.
like as it was happening, we were all cringing. We were like, oh,
Yeah.
why? Um,
I
the
did think
fact
it
that
was a
he
cool twist that he knew.
yes, I really liked that. Like I thought it was really cool learning that everything was basically set up by the King and Callum and that they brought Kit in on it because it made the betrayal even worse because Kit's like there's no way she'll do it and literally as she's doing it he's like oh my god she's doing it like this is happening. um it did make me feel worse for him, but at the same time, I was just like, oh my goodness. Like this, it felt very teenager to me, which again, I'm like reminding myself this is a young adult book, so I get like these are the emotions that the age group that is supposed to be reading this book is supposed to be feeling. But I didn't love that he basically dies being like super jealous of his brother finding love and like not being able to come to a place where he could understand that like your brother can find love but then also still love you. So that was sad.
And they're so young too.
Yep. Um is that all on Kit? Does anyone have any other Kit thoughts?
No, does that mean it's time for Blair and the fact that she's magically alive?
Let's go to Blair and Lenny before we talk about Kai and Peyton because they're really my only other like big thing that I want to talk about. Blair and Lenny makes absolutely no sense to me. And this was again like I we talked about this. Like it was hard to tell how the fire started, how Peyton really killed Blair because the writing of the scene is just like very abrupt. It's like I held her face in the fire and it started melting and then the next scene. So we still have no idea how the fire started. Was it actually a candlestick? Because if so, lame. How did Peyton kill Blair in a way in which Blair is somehow not dead? Because that's one of the twists at the end of this book is that like 5 years later, which cute scene,
That
Kai
was
and
cute.
Peyton are with their daughter and they're in Tandor. Am I just thinking of the
Tandor,
chicken?
yeah. No,
Sounds
I
about
think it is
right.
Tandor.
Tando,
Tando.
not tandoori chicken. I'm just hungry. They're in Tando, and they just like they see Blair alive.
Scars on half her face, right?
So we have to assume. I'm guessing all three of us are assuming that somehow Lenny faked her death. Did it
And
seem to you
that's
guys like
why he
Peyton
wanted
was
to go
shocked?
travel.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. Like
Mhm.
Lenny clearly knows Blair is okay, which makes him not grieving her at all make more sense. Um what did like how did you guys leave that last scene? Like was Peyton shocked that Blair was alive?
Didn't
Did she
particularly
No.
know?
seem that way.
No.
Because I
She just
couldn't
seemed
tell.
she just seemed like she accepted it. There wasn't really no thought. They just made eye contact. They nodded at each other and went their separate ways, you know?
Right. And we don't like get more than that. and I wasn't sure, it's like, are we supposed to be taking this as a, like, Hayden knew Blair was alive?
Mm.
Or, like, Peyton is in a better place, so she's not upset at this point? What do you guys think?
I
I think
read as
it's
the latter.
2.
Mm.
Oh, you think she knew?
No, I thought sorry, I thought you meant, like, both or something.
Oh, no, I think it's that she's in a better place and doesn't care.
Yeah, same. Yep.
But the most surprising part to me was you said, "There's a new novella coming out," and I said, "Oh, Blair and Lenny?" 'Cause it's 1,000% set up for a
I'll
Blair,
read
like,
that.
there's no way there's not gonna be a Blair and Lenny novella because it's so set up for that to
With
exist.
with with all of these novellas, like, now that I know that it's not just, like, a one novella, like, to give Adina a story, like, now that there is another novella about Kit, I have to assume that there will be a Blair Lenny novella that will make the rest of it make sense. But I just
Yeah.
can't tell, like, if Lenny if Lenny was the only one that knew, if Peyton didn't know, Peyton had to leave that room fully believing she had killed Blair. And, like, how would you presumably burn someone alive and think that they are deceased and then have them not be dead? I have a lot of
Feel like
questions and none of them are answered.
that's what I mean, like, there's a lot of unanswered questions regarding Lenny, like, how did he escape the bomb or the bowl incident and Powerless? How did he get away when Kai and Peyton get kidnapped by that other dude? And then getting back into the castle with Caleb. Oh, yeah, he just got me in, no questions asked.
And even if it was like a simple, like, there was in that exchange where Lenny is asking Peyton to, like, relieve him of his duties, if he was just like, I guess it probably wouldn't have worked in that situation, but if there was just like one scene where Lenny was like, Callum altered everyone's memories to make it make sense, at least, like, there would be an answer. But I'm still here, like, I've finished the series and I'm still asking myself, like, how did that go down? What happened?
Did he know? Like, what does he know?
I Yeah, like, did Lenny fake her death to make Peyton feel like
Yeah.
she'd killed her and then, like, get her out so they could be together? That's my assumption. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't
It
know.
I feel like I didn't like how they were being set up to be like a couple in terms of like the way they talk. Because I love Lenny. I don't really care for Blair. But I can see how they could make like a really cute, like black cat, golden retriever type trope
Yeah.
couple.
I still might read it. Maybe.
Yeah,
But you're not gonna
maybe.
read the Kit one?
I will not. I will
Probably
not.
not. Probably not. Unless the book court wants our hot takes on the Kit novella, which I'm thinking you probably don't. But you know what? If people want us to read the novella and hear what we think about it, we can make a drinking game out of the novella and give you our real, unadulterated, no devil's advocate thoughts about Kit's story.
Just to be clear, I've been holding back my thoughts on this book, so if we read that book, it's gonna be
Yeah, if that wasn't obvious through all of these episodes, I feel like we just made it obvious then that we would definitely give you all of our thoughts on the novella. Um, in all seriousness, though, like, I do really think that there were, like, some really good parts at the end of this book, which I definitely want to talk about as well. I loved a lot the end scenes with Kai and Maiden. Like, basically after they decided to be together, like, I thought all of their scenes were absolutely adorable. Like, her supporting him through his grief. So cute. Jamie, go.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I was gonna agree with you, the supporting of the grief, but I was gonna ask you, but what about their willow tree scene right before the wedding with
See,
Kit?
we talked about that in the last episode.
Okay, okay, okay.
I still don't like it.
Go on.
Still don't like it. But I think that all of their end scenes in this book, like at the end in this section that we just read, I really liked. I
But
thought were
didn't
really cute.
they were really cute? But didn't they like Kit and Peyton were married at a time, and we were just
No.
like
So their willow tree scene is like the night before her wedding to Kit.
hmm Wait, I can't remember. They did get married, right?
Wait, Kai and Peyton?
Kit and Peyton.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got married too.
Yeah.
I think that was
So
one of
that's
my that was one of the craziest scenes in my opinion was after wedding like directly after wedding number 1 is when they realize that they're related and then wedding number 2 still happened. My note for that, and I kid you not, is the sibling wedding double down question mark exclamation point. I just I get it on the one hand, Easel, who we never learn more about, so he was just like this random extra character who had almost no connection to the plot whatsoever. Um, is just like, we have to go do the second ceremony in Loot. Like, we'll figure everything out afterward. And he's basically like, you're married already, so like, what does it hurt? And I'm like, that doesn't make it better, Easel. They're related.
Kingdom don't know that.
To be honest, I don't remember any of the Peyton Kai scenes in this last section because I was too focused on the 9 twists that happened.
Yeah, like everything was just like a blur, to be honest, because it
Also,
felt
we
like it
did read it like
also
a week
dragged.
ago. I read it in
Yeah,
one night to get it over with.
but you guys remember like there was the twist on upon twist, and then all of a sudden, like, why is there still like a bunch of like pages left?
Because it's
Yeah.
Where my
letters. Oh, here's a bunch of letters to explain the whole plot to you. Remember how earlier I was like, I've been holding back? No. Here's the entire plot and a chapter worth of letters.
The wine was a bad
And
idea.
it didn't hurt. I'm fine. Like, y'all,
I think you need a refill.
not
Oh.
if maybe if it happened once, but twice we get the full plot explained to us through a bunch of random letters of dead people. Like, absolutely not.
Oh, that is one thing that I wanted to say about Kit though. I was really happy that we got like Kit's evil villain monologue because we didn't get that with like we kind of got it with Callum like a little bit. We didn't get anything from the king. So as Kit's like expounding on his evil villain, like I laced the roses and sent them to Isram. I was like, I mean, thanks for at least like taking a moment to make it make sense. Elena, go.
But you didn't get the monologue from the king? What about all the random dead POV chapters from him that
Yeah,
explain his entire backstory? Like, why can we not explain plot points until the character is dead via some kind of flashback trope?
Or a full
true.
novella, as it seems, is coming.
That's right. We had the letters, we had the journal entries,
And
Well,
we just have
and
the
the
random POV.
POVs.
I did notice because we had talked about like because Elena, you expressed your discontent with the like getting the king's like posthumous thoughts after the fact, and I was like, maybe we'll find out that they're journal entries. They were not journal entries, or we didn't learn that. It was just like a disembodied narrator telling us about the king post death. Yeah. I want to be clear about Kai and Peyton's scenes. I specifically like started really liking them right at the end. Like really just like her supporting him through his grief, I thought was like a nice way for them to grow their relationship back to where I was really into it because I felt like their whole relationship in this whole book was just like them sneaking around and me feeling kind of gross about it. And this was like back to we love each other for like each other and they were entirely platonic. It was like just like loving support, and then like I thought that their wedding was really sweet. Like it was just like a really small, intimate ceremony with all of our favorite characters and under the willow tree. So, like, Kit and the other A,
Hey,
could be a part of it. Like, I thought it was really sweet, and I thought that it was a cute ending. But all of the scenes with Kai and Peyton before that, I wasn't a huge fan of. But my least favorite scene of all, because Kai was like the thing that I was like riding my interest on for most of the series, was when they find out that Kit and Peyton are siblings, that they shouldn't be married. And I think it's like in between the two weddings. And then Kai's like, I think we shouldn't keep trying to be together. And I'm like, sorry, can you pause for just one moment? You have been fighting this whole book to be with her. You've been macking it. You've been sleeping together, platonically or otherwise, while she's been engaged to your brother. Now you find out that she's your brother's half sister, and there's almost nothing keeping the two of you apart except for like weird politics and Easel, which, like, we can defenestrate that guy. And now, for no reason, like no discernible reason, you're going to go to her and say, I think we should just stop trying? Who is this man? Because he is not Kai. This is not Kai. And I think, like, it's one scene that illustrates for me, like, the issue that I had the most, which was the motivations of these characters just like changed willy-nilly on a dime for me and made it really hard for me to like grab a hold of them and like really care, because I was like, I don't know what
mhm.
your motivations are and neither do you. So,
Speaking of changing the rules and our motivations throughout the book,
yes.
the way that they just dropped, like, oh, you're an ordinary and you have two powerful elite parents, and that's never happened before. And like, you're this big exception frustrated me so much because I feel like the past two books, we've been like, maybe this person's her parent, but that doesn't make sense because she's ordinary, and ordinaries can only be born from ordinaries. So then, just at the end, to throw in, oh, you're this giant exception, I was unhappy with.
I think that
That
that plot detail made me so irate that I actually just like put it out of my brain, because we brought that up so many times. So many times we were like, this is who her parents have to be, because we just learned about mixes and now we know that there's always like a percentage. And like, if this was going to be a pivotal plot point, that somehow we had an ordinary born of two extremely powerful elites, you had to sow the seeds way sooner. Like, we needed to hear about just like that random girl who was an elite born of two ordinaries, or that random boy who was, an ordinary born of two mundane parents, and how silly. Like, there needed to be just one line, even just one line that made us question, is it possible?
Or it had to be more explicit, like, this can't happen. Like, two elites cannot have an ordinary. Like, just bring it up enough to be like, they're bringing it up a lot. Are they bringing it up because she's an exception? Like, the way it was brought up, like, once, and we're like, are we misunderstanding how the magic system's working? Because, like, I feel like the opposite can happen. Like, if you bring it up enough as, like, this is a fact, then, like, you can get the reader to be like, are we saying it's a fact because there's an exception?
I
Yeah.
I wonder if she being the author had not introduced the idea of mixes and partials, would we still be thinking the same way?
That's a good question because honestly, why did we bring up mixes and partials? Like, that was a plot point
Yeah.
that barely had impact other than like,
Mhm.
oh, we're weakening our population,
Yeah, I'm
which was
trying
a
to think of,
barely is not an explicit plot point anyway.
yeah. I don't know if we had like a real opinion pre learning about mixes on Peyton's parents, because we still thought her parents were her parents. Um,
Yeah,
so
other
yeah, I
like
don't.
us thinking that like, oh, maybe she has some powers that just hasn't really surfaced or unlocked.
Mhm.
I mean, at least we can say that she has never she ended up not having powers, which is what we wanted.
Thank
Be a top
goodness.
tier part of this book. One of the few compliments I'll give to this book is it's refreshing to see a book about a girl that doesn't have powers with a girl that ends not having powers.
Yeah. I'm okay to go to Zyla if you guys are, unless you have anything else to say about Kai and or Peyton.
Literally nothing. I'm so checked out of their relationship. I can't even tell you.
That was like 7 books ago.
Their epilogue was kind of cute, but it wasn't in the epilogue because the
Yeah.
epilogue was Kit Soul leaving his body. So
Oh, well, yeah. Well, at the epilogue about like them
yeah,
5 years later, that was really cute. And knowing that like they had a daughter who it sounded like she has powers. It just I don't think it was explained what it was, and that her name is Kit with one T. That was
Yeah,
cute.
that was
it was
So I
cute.
can
cute.
say that yeah. So I mean I can say that I did like that they did end up together.
Mhm. Yes, if they had not ended up together, I don't even know what this episode would have been about.
I would have been throwing the book for the fourth time.
We would have all had a bottle of wine each. We would have just I don't even know what we would have talked about, honestly. Yeah, yeah. I am glad that they ended up together. And I'd almost be somewhat tempted to read this novella that's coming if I thought that they would be in it and I could see more of them, but I don't know how that could possibly be the case. Yeah, I think Zyla is the only other thing that I want to discuss, and that is she has to have powers, right? Like, there's no way this girl doesn't have powers.
It's so unclear. I feel like she's one of those characters they wrote in, and then they were like, "We're just gonna have her say like super like vague things, and then not explain them as a way around the plot."
Right. Like
Yeah,
why does she hate the king so much and wish that she had killed him
How does
herself?
she know what's happening in other kingdoms? How does she know that the
Right.
roses were laced? Like, how did she
yeah,
know that Peyton wasn't involved?
and I can even like let go of like the why did she hate the king so much because like I can imagine that there are maybe like world leaders in our current world that might hate other world leaders that I won't name out loud, maybe never having met them before. Like I mean, I could believe that that could happen, but it's like every single thing about her character where she's just like, "Yep, I knew the roses had the plague in them, so I got rid of them," and like, yeah, it just like it never really is explained at all. Even just like I would have liked even like a line about like, haha, like, you know, Kit tried to bring the plague over here, but who's to say it wasn't already? Like, just like even like a
Mhm.
something where I could be like, I see you.
Like I think I like her. She seems interesting and cool. It's just I want to know more.
I wanted more. Yeah. I was afraid she was never going to come back into the story, and she basically didn't, other than her letter that was like, I won't kill you guys because your brother's gone already.
Another letter.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
At least she's not dead. At least it's explaining an alive person's motivations.
It was
She
all
does of
bad.
course, because if the theory is that she's mad at the king because let's say she's related or has a close relationship with Iris, who is Kit's mother, and Kit's mother has the power of like what it was like emotions or something, right?
Yep.
So it's possible. We just don't have just don't have answers.
Yeah.
So we can speculate.
Yeah.
And isn't that
Or
the story of this whole book? We're just gonna say things and then not give answers until the last 100 pages of the book. And at that
we're
point, it just feels rushed.
we're just gonna keep speculating.
And wasn't
But yeah.
other areas in the map that like we didn't get to visit?
Yeah, Tandor, which is really
Well,
called
Not until
Tanto.
the end.
they visit it in that last scene. So I felt like, okay, at least we like saw the other part. But
Also, can I
anyway.
just say how upset I was that it turned out there wasn't some big plot with the first trial where it made it make sense that she randomly just magically found the crown?
Yep.
She did just magically find the crown.
Yeah.
But the bandits.
I was glad that that was at least part of Kit's like
Yeah.
explanation where he was like, "Yeah, I just kept like putting you into trials that like I was hoping you would die in, or at least like if you didn't, there would be some sort of benefit to me if you didn't survive. Because I was like, okay, well, at least makes sense. Because I kept saying, like, how does he keep putting her into these situations that are like near death if he really loves her? And it's like, oh, because he didn't. I never once thought of that. Like, there, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, is he trying to get her killed? But I was like, for sure, no. Not our sweet baby boy.
And is that a flaw of your thinking or a flaw of how well it was explained? That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Those are some questions that we could consider.
I'm rethinking about Kit's novella that is coming out. Is
Yes.
I wonder what his mindset will be like in that novella. Like, is it gonna be that same like brainwashy kind of like I hate Peyton, or is it gonna be like more reflective and just more, you know, not forgiving, but like, you know, introspective?
There's only
But
one way to find out.
I know.
It would be interesting to know if dying like cures him of the plague. And if then he's
Yeah,
like, oh my goodness, how could I possibly have done these things? It would be interesting to know that. And other people
right.
might have to let us know.
I will read a like fan wiki plot summary.
Like, do you think he was redeemed by the end of Fearless?
No,
His character? Okay, so the
nope.
only way to do that, I can't believe I'm pitching this,
Is to
is
read
to
unnamed
read
novella number
his
two.
novella. I'm just saying, like, if you really cared about Kit and his character and you liked him in Powerless, then you should read. I don't like the idea of the afterlife, but I could be wait,
I'm not
who's in
personally
it?
against like afterlife plot stories. It seems like it that plot has nothing to do with what we just read. Like it's just a very big divergence from the main series to just like have
Nope.
there be an afterlife novella.
It's from the synopsis that I read on Fearful, which is the title of the novella with
Mhm.
Kit. It sounded like the timing of it kind of intersects about during the events of Fearless, and then
Mm,
into the beyond. So
interesting.
yeah, I just because it sounds like Mara, who is was introduced in the epilogue of Fearless,
Mhm.
it sounded like she's been around, like she's been watching. It
Yeah.
sounded like, and she's been intrigued with Kit.
And it does make sense because we kept asking ourselves like what is this like disembodied like figure that Kit keeps like talking to. Yeah,
Like,
so I have to assume it's her. I think we were talking about that, right? Like not I think we didn't talk about it in the last episode, but in at least in this section, there are at least two times where Kit like says something out loud or like looks over Peyton or Kai's shoulder and like directs something he's saying. So I thought that it was like the
oh,
controller, which might
mm-hmm,
have been Mira, um, if it wasn't Callum. And like that was a sign of Kit's like craziness, but it is
mm-hmm,
possible that it's this new character that we meet in the novella who maybe is like guiding him.
mm-hmm. Maybe she
I will say,
distracted him during Kit's fight or battle scene, sword fight with
oh,
Kai.
that'd be a
No, I'm just
twist.
like throwing that in
That
there.
would be a
That
twist.
was really interesting. I didn't catch that he was talking to someone in the background.
Yeah, it seemed like he thought at least that there was somebody else in the room during the fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Um, I guess we can't say we definitely won't read it. I think it comes out in like a few months. And you know what they say about like when you have a second child, it's because you forgot how much childbirth hurt the first time. So maybe like 3 to 4 months from now, will have forgotten why we don't right now want to read the novella. And or if people want our thoughts on the novella, let us know. And you know what? At the very least, I would be happy to oblige. If there's like one person out there that is like, Brooke, I want your hot takes on the novella, it's probably pretty short. I could probably bang it out in an afternoon. So just let us know.
Well,
I will
we'll
go in with a negative
pin on it.
mindset, and I can guarantee I will come out with a negative.
What if we decide to do it, or if I decide to do it, the episode is what we had semi joked we were going to do with Reckless, where
Where
neither of
you
you
read
read
it.
it. I'll read it, and then I will tell you what happens, and maybe you try to guess if I'm being truthful or not.
That could be fun. That's my favorite game to play is fully
Okay.
gaslight about the plot of a book until
That would be
Yeah.
fun because there are times where Elena or I have read the book and you didn't. So this will be a first, I think, right?
Yes, I will read the book, and then I'll tell you
Let's
about
do
it
it.
moment by moment.
the difference being when Jamie and I have read a book and you haven't, we only tell you the truth about what happened.
No, you definitely don't. Yeah, which quick pitch for our next book. If you just like came in here for this series, we're going to be reading Phantasma next. I said that right, Jamie? Because as
Yeah.
most of you know, I go into books knowing absolutely nothing about them. As with this book, I know what the cover looks like, the title, and the author, and that is absolutely it. Jamie has read it already, so it's going to be a similar style where Jamie will ask us questions to get our hot
Will
takes on it as we go. Yeah, of course you have to.
with this
Um,
face.
as straight as you can make it. So yeah, hopefully you will join us for that book, which we will definitely be reading. And then let us know if you want us to read the novella or if you have thoughts on other fun ways that we could do the novella. That would be great. But no matter what you thought about the series, we want to hear about it. Clearly, we have some mixed slash slightly negative thoughts about the series as a whole, but genuinely interested to hear like from everyone. Did you agree with us? Do you think that we are absolutely off our rockers and we missed the point entirely? We want to hear about it. I know that there are people that absolutely love this series, like moment for moment. This is one of their favorite book series that they've ever read. I want to hear from you guys. Like, tell us what we missed. We want to know. And it's always fun to just compare notes and see how different books hit people differently. But thank you all so much for being on this journey with us. We had a lot of fun, and hopefully, we will see you for the next one. But until then, bye, guys.